I'm local Chickadee-ologist Richard Cissel, and this is April 20th's Migration Minute. As always, we're going to start with last night's migration. Let's see what was happening on the 19th. As the sun sets, what you're going to see, a lot of movement throughout the Great Plains. Look at all of this movement right here. Big movement in the Great Plains throughout the west. We saw last night in the video that we had a little bit of storm system over here, a little disturbance that was preventing some migration from happening that side of the U.S. But if you were out west or in the Great Plains, then this morning you woke up with new birds all over your doorstep. Jumping to tonight's forecast, what you're going to see, a lot of movement in that Mississippi River area, up that central part of the Mississippi River flyway. A lot of movement there. Still pretty quiet in the northeast, and a little bit of movement out in the Pacific, except for this system moving in right here. Not seeing a lot of movement in that area as that system moves inland. And then not a lot of movement tonight in the Rockies. Likely some sort of pressure system, maybe some winds are affecting birds moving in that area. We'll take a look at the weather map and see. First, as of recording time, you can see big movement in that area already starting. We're not even to sunset, and birds are moving big time in the eastern Great Plains. So let's look at what's happening weather-wise. So as we look at the weather map, why not a lot of movement tonight in the Rockies? Well, looks like there might be some scattered weather events throughout here. We're going to check into the wind map, see what that looks like. That might just be, that might be birds already moving, and it's just a low volume night. Who knows? Here's why not a lot's happening out in the Pacific coast. South Texas, big system there. And then you can see up in the northeast, a lot of activity with weather happening up there, preventing much movement. So you can see why already birds moving in the Great Plains. And in fact, you see all of these little guys here, all those little right there. That's birds. That's birds, baby, getting up into the sky, getting picked up by radar. So let's look at the winds. Take a peek. So maybe why the Rockies, we're not seeing a lot of winds. Could be right here, this little thing happening here. Not ideal winds for movement for birds. Are going to be flying into that, and it's going to be stopping them in their tracks. But in the Great Plains, look at that. That is a funnel for birds moving north. And then over here, East Coast, you can see why not a lot happening there. Winds are coming from the north. Birds are flying right into that. They don't want to deal with it. Some of the birds maybe are going to sneak around that storm system coming in by flying up that way there. We're going to switch to the yellow. That way there, sneaking around that system before it comes all the way in. We talked about these pressure systems last night right here. You can see the center of them there. Big one up here in north central Canada. And then the one that was on the east coast has now moved out much further. Let's look ahead to tomorrow night and the following night. So tomorrow night, what's happening? Well, that storm out west, it's coming inland. It's going to slow things down out in the west. But in the east and in the Great Plains, still big amounts of movement. We want this color for our birds. Big movements in the eastern Great Plains and the Midwest states. And then you can also see big amount of movement in that southeastern part of the U.S. on the Atlantic states. And the Gulf Coast states are popping. They are on fire. That's fire if you couldn't tell. Looking 2 nights ahead. Again, that system coming in off the Pacific coast. Well, this is how far it's going to be in 2 nights. You can see stopping everything in the Rockies. If you're living in the Rockies, not a lot of movement going to be happening in your area. But if you are out east, we are starting to get into moderate levels of migration activity. What does moderate mean? That means we're over 200 million birds averaging per night crossing. So you can see where all of the movement is. This big box, tons of movement in there. That's where the majority of those birds are going to be. 260 plus million birds estimated or predicted for the night of April 22nd, 2 nights away. And with that, we'll clear our map. What are we expecting over these next couple of nights? What kind of birds are going to be showing up? Well, the tanagers, they're coming in. If you're out east, you're going to be seeing summer tanagers galore. You're going to be seeing scarlet tanagers soon behind them. Buntings are arriving, indigo buntings, blue grosbeaks. Our goat suckers are soon to arrive in even bigger numbers. Chuck-will's widows have been arriving down in the southeast for a while now. So lots of birds on the move. Orioles are back. Hummingbirds are back out east. Now, if you're here in the central part of the Rockies, if you're in this area, things are a little bit slower. You're going to need another week before a lot of those birds start showing up that we just talked about. If you're on the west coast, of course, well, you've had hummingbirds for all winter. That's nothing new. But other species are moving through. And yes, the orioles that are migratory and leave your area, they are going to be coming back soon. So what can you expect? Tanagers, buntings, and the first waves of warblers are arriving further and further north. Not just the yellow rumps, not just the Wilsons. A lot of the other warblers. They're coming. They're coming in waves. In the next week or so, even more will start arriving. These numbers are going to bump up, and we're going to see birds everywhere. For your Migration Minute, I'm local Chickadee-ologist, Richard Cissel. And it's a totally real job and a totally real name.